Hi, you're on Reddit Confessions, and this isn't a love story. It's what happened in the 3 minutes between her grabbing her purse and me telling her, flat out, if you leave now, we're done. Forever. Let me be clear, this wasn't a blow-up fight. There wasn't screaming or a wine glass flying across the room. It was just too quiet. That kind of silence that only happens when two people stop pretending. When the lies dry up. When the room gets heavy with the truth nobody wants to say out loud. She was wearing those boots. The tan ones she only ever wore when she wanted to feel powerful. I noticed that first. Then I noticed her phone didn't buzz once while she was getting ready. Because she'd already muted it. Because whoever she was meeting didn't need to text anymore. Plans were set. She stood by the door like she wasn't really sure whether she wanted me to stop her or not. But I didn't move. I didn't block the way. I didn't plead. I just sat at the edge of the armchair, hands folded so tight my knuckles ached, and said the only sentence I had left. Go ahead. But the second you walk out that door, our marriage is over. Don't even think about coming back. I didn't raise my voice. I didn't shake. I said it like a man who had already packed up his soul and handed over the keys. She blinked twice. Not because she was shocked, but because I think she'd always assumed I'd never say it. I've never been the guy who gives ultimatums. I'm Wendell. I buy fabric softener. I remind her mom's birthday. I preheat the oven. And for years, I let myself believe that was enough. That being decent made me indispensable. She looked at me like I was a minor inconvenience. Then she reached for the doorknob, paused, and gave me the tiniest shrug. Almost like a you'll get over it. And then she left. Just like that. No suitcase. No goodbye. No theatrics. Just a door closing more quietly than I thought possible. 15 minutes later, I saw her location on our shared app move across town and stop, right outside an apartment I didn't recognize. That's when I realized she hadn't packed anything because she already had clothes waiting for her. There's more. So much more. But I need to get this out slowly, because once I tell you what happened the next day, you'll understand why I haven't slept since. The apartment was on the second floor of a brown building that looked like it hadn't been power washed since the Bush administration. I had never seen it before, never had a reason to. We live on the east side, near the grocery store with the good muffins. This place was on the west side, where everything feels just slightly grayer, like the sun avoids it out of habit. I parked across the street, shut off the engine, and stared at the location dot on my phone. It hadn't moved in over an hour. It just sat there, pulsing, confirming what my heart already knew but my mind refused to digest. I should have driven home. I should have let it go, like she probably expected. But something in me, something deeply pathetic, maybe, needed to see. Not for revenge, not even for closure. I just needed reality to punch me in the face so I could stop floating in this limbo of disbelief. I crossed the street slowly, hands in my hoodie pocket, like some kid playing spy. My shoes scraped against the pavement louder than I liked. The hallway inside the building smelled like mold and burnt popcorn. I didn't knock. I didn't buzz. I just walked until I found a window at the end of the hall facing the unit her location pointed to. And there she was, Rowena, my wife, sitting on a couch that didn't belong to us, drinking wine out of a glass she didn't own, in clothes I hadn't seen her wear. She laughed, head tilted back, mouth open wide. A man walked into view and sat beside her. Tall, built, wearing the kind of watch you only buy when you've already paid off your car and your conscience. He said something. She put her hand on his chest. That's when it hit me. I wasn't watching a mistake or a fling. I was watching the woman I'd built a life with behave like that life had been dead for months. I backed away, bumping the wall, and almost knocked over a fire extinguisher. The metal clanged. I froze, heart in my throat. I didn't want her to see me. Not like this. Not as the ghost outside the window of the life she'd chosen instead. I made it back to my car and just sat there. I didn't cry. I didn't scream. I just stared at my steering wheel like it might offer advice. A couple walked past me, laughing, arm in arm, and I hated them instantly. I hated everyone who didn't feel what I was feeling. But mostly, I hated myself for not seeing it coming sooner. When I finally drove home, I didn't turn on the lights. I sat in the dark living room, staring at the front door, half expecting her to come back like none of it had happened. That door she walked out of still held the silence of her betrayal. I could almost hear the faint click when it closed behind her. At 2:17 a.m., I got a text. It was from her. Did you mean it? That was it. No apology. No explanation. Just 3 words that tore through me worse than if she'd sent nothing at all. I didn't answer. I couldn't. Because whatever existed between us died the second she touched that man's chest and smiled like I never existed. But this story's far from over. There's more. So much more. Because I made one mistake the next morning, and it changed everything. The next morning, I did the one thing I swore I wouldn't do. I answered her text. Not because I forgave her. Not because I missed her. But because my brain couldn't sit with the silence any longer. I needed something. Anything. That made me feel like I hadn't completely evaporated from her world. So I typed, yes. I meant every word. I stared at the message for 5 minutes before hitting send. My finger trembled over the button like it knew I was handing her the last piece of my dignity. 5 minutes later, she replied with a single word. Okay. Not, I understand. Not, I'm sorry. Just, okay. Like I'd canceled a dentist appointment. I threw my phone across the couch. I should have let the silence stay. At least silence doesn't condescend. Around noon, I got a call from her sister, Ellen. That surprised me because Ellen never liked me. She thought I was too soft, too agreeable, too me. So when her name lit up my screen, I hesitated. But I picked up anyway. Del, she said, her voice low and flat. Did you seriously tell her not to come back? I didn't tell her, I replied. I warned her. She walked out anyway. Ellen exhaled sharply, like I was a toddler throwing a tantrum. You're making a mistake. She just needed space. You knew that. She told you she was overwhelmed. Oh yeah. I snapped. She looked real, overwhelmed, drinking red wine on some guy's couch with her hand on his chest. There was silence. A long one. And in that moment, I knew something I shouldn't have known yet. Ellen already knew. She wasn't calling to find out what happened. She was calling to do damage control. Ellen, I asked slowly, how long have you known? Her breath caught. I could feel her panic through the phone. It's not my business. How long? 3 months. 3 months. That's how long my wife had been orbiting another man, and everyone around me had decided I was too fragile to know. Or maybe they just didn't care enough to say anything. Either way, I hung up without another word. I sat there, alone again, in a house filled with furniture we picked out together, covered in throw pillows she bought, staring at photos of a life that wasn't real anymore. The part that really twisted the knife? She didn't even try to lie. She didn't try to explain. It was like I wasn't worth the effort. That kind of disregard. Like she was erasing me without even bothering to hide the eraser. Ate at something inside me I didn't know was still soft. By evening, I'd made a decision. I wasn't going to be the abandoned husband sulking in a dim kitchen waiting for an apology that would never come. If she wanted space, if she wanted a different life, fine. But I wasn't going to sit quietly while she rewrote our story. So I started packing. Not her things. Mine. I grabbed a duffel bag, filled it with clothes, toiletries, and my old external hard drive. Then I went to the hall closet, pulled out the envelope labeled House Docs, and took it with me. Before I left, I stuck a note on the fridge. It read, "Since you're so good at moving on, this shouldn't be a problem. The house is listed. Call the realtor. Don't worry, I left the bed for you. You're going to need the rest." I walked out without looking back. I thought that would be the end of it. But the next morning, something even worse happened. She showed up. I wasn't even out of the house for a full day. I had taken refuge at an extended stay on the edge of town. The kind of place with paper-thin walls and vending machines that don't work on the first try. It was temporary, and that's all I needed. Somewhere not haunted by her perfume or the grooves her hairbrush left in the bathroom drawer. Somewhere where I wasn't reminded every 3 feet of how badly I'd misjudged the person I married. I didn't tell anyone where I was. Not even my brother, and I'd tell him everything. But Rowena found me anyway. It was just afternoon. I had reheated some leftover soup in the tiny microwave and was standing barefoot on the stiff carpet, scrolling through apartments I couldn't afford when I heard a knock. At first, I froze. No one knew I was here. Not unless they went through serious effort. And the only person who'd even care enough to try was her. I opened the door, and there she stood, wearing a hoodie I hadn't seen in years, holding a paper bag from that overpriced salad place she used to drag me to. Her hair was up. No makeup. No show. Just Rowena. But not the version I remembered. Her eyes looked different. Less sharp. More calculated. Like she was reading a room and preparing her next move. "Can I come in?" she asked, already taking half a step forward. I didn't move. Why are you here? I said flatly. I brought lunch, she replied, lifting the bag slightly. We need to talk. I still didn't budge. You could have said everything you needed to say in your text. That's when I noticed it. A shadow behind her. A man, tall, lean, maybe mid-30s, lingering near a rental car, pretending not to watch us. But he was watching. I could feel it. The same guy I'd seen through that window? I couldn't be sure, but my stomach twisted with recognition I didn't want to admit. I nodded toward the car. You come here to talk, but you brought your… What? Backup? She followed my gaze and actually rolled her eyes. That's my coworker, Brennan. He just gave me a ride. That's all. I couldn't help but laugh. So now you're showing up at my door with a salad and an audience? Do I clap now or later? She frowned and finally dropped the fake calm. Del, stop being dramatic. I just wanted to explain everything face to face. I owe you that much. No, I said, my voice cracking but holding. You owe me a lot more than that. But since you're here, go ahead. Explain. I'm all ears. She stepped inside, but not like someone returning home. She moved like someone walking through a museum exhibit they don't really care about. She set the bag on the kitchenette counter and turned to face me. Things haven't been good between us for a long time, Delaware. You know that. I felt like I was suffocating. You never took risks, never wanted change. It was always the same food, same weekend plans, same tired conversations. I needed to feel alive again. So you made yourself alive by killing what we had? I asked, staring at her, my fists clenched so tightly they trembled. I didn't plan any of this, she said. It just happened. That's funny, I muttered. Most people don't accidentally end up in another man's apartment. She didn't answer right away. Then she said something that finally broke me. You weren't supposed to see that. Not I'm sorry. Not it was a mistake. Just you weren't supposed to see it. I turned away before my voice could betray me. She was never here to fix anything. She just wanted to control how the story was told. To be the narrator of our downfall instead of the villain. Take your salad, I said quietly, and go. She didn't argue. She didn't cry. She picked up the bag, walked out the door, and didn't even look back. But Brennan did. He glanced up at me through the windshield as she climbed in, and that one look said everything. He wasn't just a coworker. He knew. He was the plan. And I was the fool who saw it too late. 2 days passed after she showed up at the hotel. I didn't hear from her, didn't see her car outside, didn't get any texts pretending to check on me. And despite everything, I kept checking my phone. I don't know what for. Maybe an apology. Maybe a confession. Maybe just something human to make all this feel less like being discarded and more like a tragedy we both regretted. But nothing came. She disappeared like my feelings had never mattered, like our marriage was just a phase she outgrew. Then, around 6:40 in the morning, too early for anything good, I heard a soft knock at my door. Not loud, not urgent, just careful. I waited. If it was her again, I needed to be ready. I crept over, looked through the peephole. No one. But when I opened the door, I saw it. A plain white envelope, no name, no return address, sealed like it contained either something sacred or something toxic. And I was stupid enough to pick it up. I shut the door, sat on the edge of the bed, and just stared at it for a full minute. I should have thrown it out. I should have burned it. But of course I opened it. I always open the things that destroy me. Inside was a photo. Just one. A candid shot, clearly taken with a phone. My wife and Brennan, walking hand in hand through a crowded street fair. She was smiling, eyes half closed, head tilted like she did when she was truly happy. He was looking at her like she was the center of his universe. They didn't look like people sneaking around. They looked like people living openly, comfortably. Like I was already forgotten. There was a note written in neat, slanted handwriting on the back. You deserve to know what she looks like when she's honest. That sentence knocked the air out of me. Not because it was cruel, but because it was true. I had spent so long convincing myself she was just lost, or confused, or trying to find her way back to me. But this wasn't confusion. This was a woman who had found what she wanted and left without flinching. I didn't know who sent the envelope. I still don't. A coworker? Someone from her new circle? Maybe someone who pitted me just enough to send a nudge. Or maybe it was just meant to end me. And for a moment, it nearly did. I dropped the photo and sat in the bathroom for what felt like hours. I couldn't cry. I'd done that already. There's something worse than crying, though. It's when your body wants to scream, but your throat won't move. Like grief is stuck behind your ribs, pounding, begging to get out. Later that afternoon, I made a decision. I drove back to the house, not to confront her, not to talk, but to get one last thing. There was a folder in my desk drawer labeled legal. Bank accounts, deeds, insurance. I wanted to be ready. If she could move on like that, I had to start catching up. When I got there, the house was unlocked. I stepped inside and instantly felt like a stranger. Her coat was gone. Her plants were gone. The kitchen smelled like takeout I didn't recognize. And worst of all, there were shoes by the door. Not hers. His. Loafers. Size too big for me. Placed like he lived there now. I walked down the hallway and opened the bedroom door. There was laughter. Male laughter. I didn't step inside. I didn't yell. I just closed the door gently and left the folder on the hallway table. And then I wrote a new note on the back of a grocery receipt I found in my pocket. Congrats. You upgraded the house. Just don't forget to water the plants. And tell him to stop using my mug. I haven't been back since. But the story doesn't end there. Because the next time I saw her, it wasn't in person. It was on a screen. It happened 3 days after I left that final note. I had been holed up in the same extended stay motel, living off vending machine snacks and fast food bags piling in the corner. I couldn't bring myself to go back to the house, not even to pack. Every time I thought about her and him walking through those rooms like I'd never existed, I felt like I was drowning in someone else's dream. I thought I'd reached the bottom, thought I had nothing left to lose. But I was wrong. Rock bottom still had a trapdoor. That morning, I got an email from an address I didn't recognize. No subject, just a Dropbox link. Normally, I wouldn't have clicked something like that, especially after the photo, but I was beyond caring. Part of me wanted the virus. Part of me hoped it would just crash my laptop so I'd have one less thing reminding me of my former life. Instead, what opened was a 30-second video clip. Grainy, shaky, clearly recorded through a window. But clear enough. Rowena, my wife, in our living room, sitting on the couch I picked out, wearing one of my old hoodies. She was curled up next to Brennan, his hand on her thigh, her head resting against his shoulder. They were laughing at something on the TV. It would have been ordinary, if not for what she said next. I can't believe how easy it was, she laughed. He practically begged me to stay home. I almost felt bad. Brennan smirked. You didn't look very torn up about it. I wasn't, she said, without hesitation. Delbert was comfortable, but God, he was suffocating. I needed someone with fire. Someone who doesn't ask if the car has enough gas before going out to dinner. They both laughed again. My ears rang. The video ended there. I stared at the screen, waiting for something. Another minute, another scene, some explanation. But that was it. That was all someone wanted me to see. And it worked. I sat there for a long time, letting that one sentence echo in my skull. He practically begged me to stay home. All those nights I worried, all the hope I clung to, all the nights I cooked her dinner and asked if she was okay. It wasn't just unreciprocated. It was mocked. I tried to delete the video, but my hand froze. I couldn't. I needed it. Not because I ever wanted to watch it again, but because it was my receipt, my proof, my reminder that I wasn't crazy or paranoid or controlling. I was just a man married to someone who never respected him. And that's when something shifted. I didn't cry this time. I didn't shake. I opened a notebook, grabbed a pen, and started writing. Not poems, not confessions, but names, account numbers, assets, a full list of everything we shared, everything I needed to untangle. I wasn't going to ask her to explain anymore. I was going to remove myself from her story, quietly and completely. But as I began planning my exit from the life we built together, another email came in. This one was from my boss. It said, "We need to talk. Urgent." And that's when the spiral turned professional. Because betrayal, I've learned, has a way of spreading far beyond the home. The email from my boss said we needed to talk. No explanation. No subject line. Just those 5 words sitting like a landmine in my inbox. I stared at it for a few minutes, rereading it over and over, hoping a different meaning would emerge. But deep down I knew, when life starts falling apart, it doesn't do so politely. It doesn't give you time to brace for impact. It just keeps ripping through walls you thought were solid. I called him. Ezra's his name. We've worked together for nearly 10 years. He's blunt, not particularly warm, but fair. He picked up on the second ring. No small talk. Del, I'm going to ask you something, and I need you to be honest, he said. Okay. I replied, already feeling sick. Were you the one who gave Rowena access to the internal documents folder? I blinked. What? The financials, the vendor contracts, the back-end tracking reports. Someone used your credentials 3 weeks ago from a remote IP to download them. Not just view. Download. My mouth went dry. I didn't. I swear to you, Ezra, I didn't even know she had my login. He sighed. I believe you. But legal is breathing down my neck. There's a leak. One of our competitors suddenly launched an identical bidding strategy 2 hours. Almost word for word. We traced it back to files accessed from your account. I leaned forward, head in my hands. You think she gave them away? I don't know what to think, Delaware. But I do know you're not just some guy in this company. You were part of the decision-making team. You helped shape the strategy she may have just sold. And then it hit me like a freight train. Brennan. He was the head of a rival firm we'd once lost a bid to. I remember seeing his name on a proposal document months ago, never thinking anything of it. I thought he was just some smug executive with a yacht and 2 white teeth. I had no idea he was the man sitting in my living room, smiling with his hand on my wife's leg. Oh my God, I whispered. She didn't just cheat on me. She used me. Ezra's voice softened slightly. Look, I want to believe you. But this goes beyond personal drama. If you have anything, texts, proof, anything that shows she acted alone, you need to send it. Otherwise, corporate's going to assume you were part of this. I promised to send what I could. The video, the photo, the timestamps, all of it. I hung up and just sat there, numb. In trying to hold on to her, I gave her access to every part of me, emotionally, financially, professionally. I trusted her with passwords, with strategy decks, with everything I thought was protected. I wasn't just the man she betrayed. I was the fool who handed her the keys. Later that night, I sent Ezra the video and every detail I had. He replied within the hour. This helps. We'll follow up. I should have felt relief, but I didn't. I felt hollow. The kind of hollow that makes your hands shake when you try to open a bottle of water. Then, just before midnight, I got another message. Not from Ezra. Not from an unknown number. From her. It read, You really think you're the victim here? You never saw me. Not really. I didn't respond. I just stared at that sentence, knowing it was the most honest thing she'd ever said. Because she was right. I never really saw her. But she never really let me, either. I didn't respond to her message. There was nothing left to say. I'd spent so many nights rewriting my pain into explanations, turning betrayal into misunderstandings just to preserve the idea that maybe, she hadn't meant to hurt me. But that message shattered the last illusion. She knew what she was doing. She always did. What she didn't know was that I'd already taken back control. The next morning, I met with Ezra and the legal team. I handed over everything. The video, the photo, the metadata, even a screenshot of her text. Their tone shifted the second they saw it. They knew I wasn't the leak. I was the collateral damage. And thankfully, I got to keep my job. Not only that, but they opened a full investigation into Brennan's firm. If anything they'd built came from Rowena's stolen access, there would be consequences. But that wasn't the real win. The real win came quietly, in a bank office with a neutral-toned carpet and a woman named Cheryl who helped me close the last joint account. I walked out of there with the final document in a plain manila folder, and for the first time in months, I felt light. Like I was finally stepping into air that wasn't tainted with her perfume and half-truths. I moved out of the extended stay and into a small one-bedroom apartment with creaky floors and terrible Wi-Fi, but it was mine. No ghosts, no lies, just silence and the sound of healing. Rowena tried to reach out again. She emailed once, said she wanted to talk, just to clear the air. I didn't open it. I deleted it without a second thought. She had her chance to talk, back when the door was still open. I've started running again. I've picked up woodworking, something I always said I'd do but never made time for. I've even started seeing someone. Nothing serious yet, but she laughs with her whole face, and she listens like my words matter. That's more than I had in the last 2 years of my marriage. So yeah, maybe I didn't get the apology. Maybe I never got justice in the cinematic way I dreamed of. But I got something better. I got myself back. If you're still reading this, thank you. It means more than you know. And now I'll leave you with a question, because I'm genuinely curious. What's the most shocking moment in history that still gives you chills when you think about it? Drop your thoughts in the comments. I'd love to read them. And hey, thanks for watching Reddit Confessions. If you're still standing after your own storm, you've already won. Stay strong. Stay sharp. See you in the next story.